Hello, welcome to episode 2 of Linked 11, this new YouTube channel where I take a random footballer, rate them for my opinion of achievements, talents, and stories for their career, review their previous clubs, find an interesting player who they played with, and then link it down to get a squad of 11, totaling their score. So today's episode, not as obscure as Martin Stergilerski, who's played for Everton, not Liverpool, is Kieran Dyer. A player of very good technical ability, ravaged by injuries. Started his career at Ipswich, went to Newcastle, spent a long time there, and then kind of tailed off. So for me, I gave him achievements of 3 because he did play 40 times for England. Talent-wise, I think there's no disputing his talent. I'd say if he wasn't injured as much, he'd have been a very, very good player. He was still a good player, but what didn't achieve his talents. The story's 5. I think one of the main memories for his time at Newcastle was his scrap on the pitch against Villa with Lee Boyer, where they had to be both got sent off, and then were both made to make this cringy apology handshake in front of the media. So, I said achievements 3, talent 6, stories 5. That gives Kieran Dyer 90. So looking at Kieran Dyer's career, he spent a small bit of time at QPR with 5 appearances, and I looked at the time then in the 11-12 season at QPR and looked at the squad. There was obviously some big players there when they were in the Premier League, but I went for Joey Barton, a name, probably more people are probably more aware of his off-field antics than on the field, but on the pitch, I mean, he started his career at City. 2005, then went to Newcastle. Also had time in Marseille before coming back to Burnley and Rangers for a very short spell. Got into management and just recently left Fleetwood. But for me, achievements 2, he didn't really, apart from getting the odd promotion with Burnley, didn't really achieve a lot. Talent-wise, I think he was quite a limited centre midfielder. Made up for it though in aggression and all that. So I give him a 3. But stories 10. I mean, especially in his days of Man City, stabbing the cigar out and was it Dabo's eye or a youth player's eye, and I spent a bit of time in prison and then going to Rangers and having a big scrap there as well, getting binned off. So it's always good for the stories, I think. So I looked at his time then when he was there at Newcastle in the 2007-8 season, and a player, it was quite a good team he had at Newcastle at the time. But Obafemi Martins, I mean, if you remember his career where he kind of burst on the scene, then Inter Milan, I think he scored in the Champions League semi-final against AC Milan. Hopefully got over 40 caps for Nigeria and did well there. I think he probably didn't achieve as much as his talents, early days, Inter Milan, then he went to Newcastle, kind of Birmingham, where he did win the League Cup, and then he's been in China the last couple of years. So achievements, I give him a 5, won a few cups and leagues in Italy. Talent 6, he's probably he got serious left foot. Stories 4, I think a memory that sticks out for me was I was listening to Big Sam's audiobook, and Big Sam described him as a scorer of great goals, but not a great goal scorer. And then just randomly in the book, it said that every so often, Big Sam said, I'd have to allow Obafemi Martins to go back to see his witch doctor, but no explanation of, he just went on the next breath saying, oh, there's the next match. We were like, that sounds like an interesting story about a witch doctor and Obafemi Martins, but Big Sam left it hanging on that. So growing up, I was actually a little bit of an Inter Milan fan as well. So I looked at his time there in the 01-02 season, and the Brazilian Ronaldo, the real Ronaldo, some people call him, was there as well, obviously. I mean, there's nothing really to say about this man's career. The only thing he probably didn't win, bar the 2 World Cups, was the Champions League, and 1 cups and leagues wherever he went. Absolute god of a footballer. Growing up for me, like 2002, 2002 World Cup and 98 World Cup. He was the biggest player in the world. So I mean, really harsh. Give him a 9 for talent, sorry, for achievements. Give him a 10 for talent, because there's absolutely no disputing that. And stories, 10. I think you just have to, even the France 98 World Cup final, where there's a great mystery of what actually happened to Ronaldo. Was he unfit to play or what? But it was great then he come back in the 2002 World Cup and won it. So he obviously played for Madrid and Barca and both Milan clubs. But I picked his one season at Barca, 96-97, and in that squad, it was Guardiola was there. But a player I remember from his Chelsea days and growing up was Albert Ferreira, the right back. I mean, I think with him and Dan Petrescu were the competing right backs in that era of Chelsea, but coming towards the end of his career really. But 30 odd caps for Spain as well. Won the Champions League with the Barca. Probably the only thing didn't really achieve was international trophies, along with that many other great Spaniards at the time. So achievements gave him an 8. Talent 5. I mean, over 200 appearances for Barca. Stories 2, I think, just your run-of-the-mill but very good right back. No nonsense. So I looked at his last season at Chelsea, which was 02-03. In that team, you had in the Chelsea 02-03 team, you had Gallas and Terry and Lampard. But a player, I always wondered why he never his career ended so early. But it was Celestine Babayaro, the Nigerian left back. Pretty much stopped playing before the age of 30. Broke on the scene with Anderlecht and then a couple of good years at Chelsea. But went to Newcastle and then went to LA and never really played. He had success though at the Olympic team in, I think it was 96. So achievements wise, won cups with Chelsea. And then international Olympic team as well. So achievements 5, talent 6. I thought he was a really good left back actually. And stories 4. I think just it was that kind of era where I didn't mind Chelsea. It was before the Abramovich era, money, Zola and all those lads. So I said I'd go and take went a bit offbeat here, but I went to he played with Anderlecht for a few seasons and looked at an Anderlecht team of 96, 97, and I didn't recognise one player in the squad. So I said, I need a goalkeeper. I've got a left back, right back, my forwards. So I went for Gerald de Villiers. He was the Belgian goalkeeper in 2002 World Cup. Also went to Man City in 04-05 and 05-06, but never played actually. But from his his career, 40 odd caps, played in the World Cup, 02 World Cup for Belgium. Given achievements 3, talent 3, and from again all completely based on what Wikipedia says about him, and stories 1. Now I do admit I googled his name. I think he's a TV presenter, I guess in Belgium. But he also tweeted recently about Trump. It was in, I can't remember, it was in French or Flemish or whatever it was. But it had the hashtag about the people going into Capitol Hill. He had hashtag lunatics. So girls to give Villiers, being a bit political. So back to his time at Man City in the 04-05 season. And look, that was before the big money came in. So went for Richard Dunn, absolute man mountain for the Irish team. I always remember that Russia performance. I think if you get it on YouTube, like amazing. Really good player. Probably was turfed out City a bit early. The money came in straight away, went to Villa. Achievements, I gave him a 3. For me, he was very fine centre back for Ireland, 80 caps. Talent wise, 7. I think he was technically, suspiciously quick for a big man, and story 6, completely baseless high score for his Russia performance away in Russia, for playing for Ireland the 2012 Euros. So he gets a score of 147. After he went from City, went to Villa. So I looked at the Villa 12-13 team. I think Dunn actually didn't play a single minute of football that season. He was injured, but that was before Villa kind of imploded and got relegated. But you had Charles Nzogbia playing for them. I think, Nzogbia was a very technically good winger. For Newcastle, Wigan, so that's just. But actually, I think the only achievement he ever had was he won the Intertoto Cup in 2006. I think more of a unfulfilled potential. Talent 5, I think he's a very good player. Scored some crackers in the Premier League. And stories 5. Now, base high score for that based pretty much just on the memory of what Joe Kinnear called him, Charles Insomnia, which kind of really annoyed him and made him leave. But he was at Wigan. He went from Newcastle to Wigan in the 10-11 season. So looking at the Wigan team of that era, it was before they, were still in the Premier League. But I picked a player who probably goes down one of the biggest Wigan players of all time, or single-handedly most impressive moment was Ben Watson. The guy who got the goal in City in 2013 FA Cup. So that alone was a pretty serious achievement. Still plugging away at 35 for Watford, or for Notts Forest. Talent 4, pretty good, tidy midfielder, and story 6. I think that's just, he's legend status at Wigan. So the last player on this list. So I looked at Ben Watson's time. First part of his career was at Palace. I went to pick the 2002-2003 season, which was his first year there. So I went to the team. It was, to be honest, it was slim pickings, but I needed a defender, so I was limited in what I was searching for. So I then went for the Australian centre back Tony Popovic, man who played 2006 World Cup. Good spell at Palace with being in the Championship and the Premier League. So I gave him a 2 for achievements. Didn't really win much. Won a few Oceania Cups, but come on, it's pretty standard stuff for an Australian international. Talent 3. So either a really bad own goal or he scores a serious goal in the Premier League, can't remember which, and stories 3, I reckon he's probably pretty well thought of from Australian fans and Palace. It's he's in a score of 18. So just to recap the team: De Villiers in goal, Ferreira and Babiaro fullbacks, Dunn, Popovic centre backs, Barton, Watson centre midfielders, Dyer and Zogby in the wing, and Martin's Ronaldo up top. Cheers.